Yo, welcome back. Doing something a little bit different today. I played the Regional Championships number 7 on the weekend and I actually was able to take it down. So I'm just going to do a bit of a tournament recap, go over my thoughts on the deck, a bit about the history of it, and just take through the whole weekend. So I kind of want to go through how the deck came to be as it is, and yeah, kind of how it evolved, and just to look at how I was able to come up with something so strange and the different iterations it went through to get to what it is now. So here's a kind of the results that I was able to put up over a few months on Modo. I was playing the deck a lot before Christmas. That bit of time off between end of work and Christmas, I had a lot of time to play, so I was just playing a couple of leagues a day. I was able to get 3 league wins in a row. And then a bit more in February prior to the RC. So this is kind of how I built the deck, was mainly that early or late December and then a bit of time in Feb to come to the final deck that we have now. Back in December, it looked a bit more like this. Notes of difference being the Null Drifters, 3 Everflowing Chalices, 1 less land, more Mystic Forges, and a bit of a different take on the Karn board. Null Drifters I never really wanted to draw 2, so I trimmed on those. The Everflowing Chalices, similar situation where you never want to draw multiples, and there was just too many mana sources in the deck with Chalices and Mind Stones and lands, so I needed stuff that actually impacted the board. So I ended up cutting some of those Everflowing Chalices, cut a Mystic Forge because you never want to draw multiples, and you want them when the board is already stable, not just any given point. So kind of the main changes that you'll see between the old deck and the one that I ran for the RC. A bit more playing to the board. The Emrakul's really, when you put that thing on the board, it definitely changes the entire game. So that was a big kind of realization that Emrakul isn't actually that hard to turn on in this deck. You've got Sagas, you've got Kozilek's Command, and if you get one of each of those in the bin, that's 4 types already. Then you add a Bauble, and now you're up to 5 types, and now your Emrakul's costing 8, so it's very realistic to make it cost 8, if not 7, sometimes 6 with a bit of luck. Yeah, so a couple of Emrakul's has been a really good addition. The Null Drifters, keeping 2 seems like a good number. Just the 1 Mystic Forge has been feeling right. You can get them off of Karn if the game's slowed down enough from the Karn board. But otherwise, yeah, it's kind of where I ended up. Not a huge amount of differences between the early drafts and what we ended up with. Just a bit of fine tuning and then a bit of considerations for the Karn board. Like Torpor was a late inclusion, but a really important one for the black-white deck and against Titan. Went up to 3 Thought-Knot Seers. That was really vital against your bad matchups like Eldrazi, where it's kind of a coin flip. You bring in the Thought-Knot Seers and it makes it a lot better. Good against Breach, so the Thought-Knot Seers coming in pretty regularly was a really important find for the deck as well. As for the tournament itself, we started off playing against Black-White Ketramos. Really, actually, the first game of the day was almost one of the most exciting ones. It came to a certain spot where I had to Saga, float, go get Mox Opal, then cast a Chalice of the Void on 0 when I already had a Chalice of the Void on 0. The Chalice in play counted the one on the stack, and then that got me to the exact number of types I needed to cast an Emrakul, which won me the game. So, very interesting start, but that was exactly what I needed to get the Emrakul. And then game 2, they just kind of flooded out. The second match was also kind of much the same. It was round 2, black-white again, very similar list. Our draws were kind of going tit-for-tat. They were hitting pretty good curve, but my curve was also good. I had a guy who can slab draws, but again, they just kind of flooded out in the mid to late game, and I was able to steal it. My thoughts on the matchup is that it's not hugely favoured, but like a moderate favour. So I didn't feel too bad going into it, but it wasn't one of the freebie matchups that the deck can often get. But yeah, happy to take both of those down. I would have, if I had to guess, I would have said I'd probably take one loss to Black White Catch Remotes if I played against it twice. But on the day, we were fortunate enough to run well enough to win both. Round 3 was against Breach. If you don't know by now, the deck's really designed to beat Breach, and we did exactly that. We did lose game 2. I kept a pretty ordinary hand, getting a bit too confident in my ability and the deck's ability to beat Breach. I think it produced like a turn 3 card on the draw, but that just wasn't good enough. I think they had some kind of permission or consign in the post-board game, and I was unable to really lock the game down very effectively. And then game 3, things just went pretty smoothly with the usual curve out, play multiple lock pieces, and went from there. Round 4 was my first loss of the tournament. As you can see here, I'm getting Emrakul with a frowny face. Not a good spot to be. He was playing the Heragast version, the red Eldrazi Titan Dragon thing, and it was surprisingly good. It looked like a bit of a joke when I saw the deck list, because it was all open deck list, so I'm like, is this a bit of a meme? But my opponent was at 3-0, and he's a well-known player in the Sydney meta from what I was hearing, so I didn't discredit the card too much. I thought, like, yeah, he must have really thought about it to register 4 of the dragon. And yeah, it beat me up. It just went Myco Spawn into the dragon and restocked his hand. Yeah, it was just an incredible card. And yeah, their curve was really nice along the way as well. So we lost that one 0-2. The red-green Eldrazi deck can be a little tough, but it is a bit of a coin flip. Like, we're doing very similar things. So play draw is a big part of the matchup as well. But yeah, we took that first loss, which is a bit of a rough one. Round 5, back up against Breach, back in our comfort zone. Won this one 2-0 pretty handily. Really not much to say on it. I think I had a early Chalice in game 1, and then game 2 I had turn 2 Khan, and yeah, the draws were nice both times, and the opponent just had moderate draws and just couldn't beat it. So that's kind of what we signed up for, and one of the biggest draws towards playing the deck. Round 6 was against Frog. Close matchup. Actually went to 3 games, and every game was a kind of a nail biter. I think they had turn 2 Frog on 2 of the games, but yeah, well, at least one of them I was able to steal it by having a turn 2 Colourless command to deal with the Frog, and the third game I was able to put together double Flash Raker and Chalice. There was one or two spots where I would have just stone died to a Harbinger, but I was fortunate enough that I faded it a couple of times. I think they had 3 in the side, but yeah, I was lucky enough to get around it, and that was pretty much the match. Once you get 2 Flash Rakers going, it's pretty trivial to win against the Frog deck. And they didn't have any Murktides or Colourlesses coming in, so every time they would counter one of my threats, I would make 2 more spawns and deal them 4. So that was kind of a good recipe to take that match. Round 7. At this point, we are 5-1. So one more win gets us to 6-1, and we can ID and almost certainly be in the top 8. We pair up against Red Green Eldrazi, more stock at this point, not the Heragast version that we played in round 4. This game, what happened in this one? Game 1, I was able to Khan lock my opponent. I got a liquid metal coating in early, and just kind of, they stumbled, they had artifact mana, and they weren't able to really get a lot going. Game 2 was kind of the opposite. They were the ones who had the Khan going. I was getting Khan liquid metal coating maybe 3 or 4 times, and then I think I drew a timely Eldrazi Temple to allow me to have exactly enough to play an Emrakul. Took the Emrakul turn, and I attacked the Worldbreaker into the Emrakul, and then did the trick where you hold priority and you sack a bunch of lands to bring the Worldbreaker back to your hand. So I think they went from 7 lands that turn down to like 2, but unfortunately they had an active Khan, and they drew land per turn, play a bridge, and then I was still unable to attack them because of the bridge and the liquid metal coating plus the Khan. just took out the rest of my lands, and then I had no real recourse to come back into that game. But that brought us to game 3. Pretty much win this game, I get the top 8, and I look at my opener. It's, I think from memory, it was Island, Mindstone, Temple, Khan, and Thought Knotsia. So not a stellar hand, but it goes turn 3 Khan, go get Liquid Metal Coating, and then turn 4 Thought Knot your opponent and play Liquid Metal, take out one of their lands. So if you can get to turn 4 without much interaction from the opponent, then you're in great shape. And they mulliganed 5, luckily, and I was able to see them stumble a little bit and kind of capitalize on that with a hand that was a little slow, but good at taking out their lands. They had some Stone Rains along the way, but my Thought Knots, I think I drew a second Thought Knot as well, which took a timely Colourless command, and that sealed the deal. And that got me into the top 8. So here we are. That's me. This is Colin, also piloting the same, nearly the same 75, a couple cards different, but yeah, for the most part, Colourless Eldrazi. So glad to see both of us playing the deck and both of us top 8ing and converting. Really happy with the fact that the deck wasn't seen in a great volume, but it still had a really potent and good run throughout the tournament. We're going to the quarterfinals. So I'm on the draw against Frog. It's the second turn of the game, so it's the Frog turn. They cast the Frog. I've kept my hand on the basis that it's got an Urza Saga and a Uggin's Lab ready to go. On their third turn, they hit the Frog and they try to unearth an Oculus. I Cosmic's Command, exile it, and draw a card. So kind of narrowly avoiding disaster with an Oculus coming down on turn 3. I untap and I decide that I don't really have the luxury of making Saga tokens. They're just going to be outclassed by the Frog, or the Frog flying, getting Shadow Spear probably wasn't going to be an effective way to race, and they've got enough cards in hand that they can probably just answer the construct, and I would just die if I went too all in on it. So I decided to go down the Chalice plan. They counter the first Chalice with a Spell Snare, and then I resolve my second one. It's not terrible. Like, Chalice is a really good card in the matchup, but once they have a Frog, it's kind of ineffective. They just start, if they have like 3 1-drops in hand, usually that means your Chalice has won you the game, but against Frog, it just means that they dump those and then make the Frog 3 bigger. So they hit me with Frog again, they counter my Khan, hit me with Frog again, force my next Khan, so the classic kind of protect the Queen strategy, play a Delver of Secrets, play a Counterspell for the rest of the turns of the game is still very effective, especially when it's a Psychic Frog. So I'm kind of getting beaten up. They're hitting me with a progressively larger and larger Frog, and they're countering all my spells along the way. And then they also get to resolve a Murktide against me, which is kind of sealing the deal. At this point, I will be dead next turn to these 2 creatures, but I was able to find a Devourer to take out the Frog. They hit me with the Murktide, and then I'm at 1, and I play an Emrakul to hopefully take their turn, and then throw the Murktide into the Emrakul bus, but they're able to find a counterspell, and that means I've got 1 turn to draw something off of the... Well, I get to take their turn, but I have to find an answer to the Murktide with their own cards at this point through a Chalice, which doesn't leave me a great deal of options, so they take that game. We go to game 2, and I get a nice start again, where I've got Opal, Bauble, Darksteel Citadel, and Chalice. They, of course, don't care about any of this. It becomes the second turn of the game. They cast the Frog, as the deck does. My turn 2, I don't actually really get to do anything. I just play my Saga. I've kept the hand on the strength of the turn 1 Chalice, but yeah, there's not... And hopefully I can draw some kind of 3-drop or something to continue. I've got some Khans in hand at this point, I believe. So unfortunately, no play on turn 2, and they get their best play in the form of Frog. I just play my land and let my Saga tick up, and they go hit me with Frog and play a large Murktide. So they've got a pretty impressive board to my nothing right now. But of course, in step, I'll make a Saga token. the Saga token takes a Shadow Spear, and I attack in, making it a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so it's a 7 power. This is probably the most interesting turn of the tournament, to be honest. The details of it is they've got 3 cards in hand. They have 1 card in bin. If they discard 2 instants or sorceries to the frog, they can jump the frog, exile the 2 instants or sorceries, and then the Murktide becomes an 8/8, and then eats the construct. If that's what they do, it means that they probably need to discard their counterspells or other kind of interaction, and that means that one of the cards in my hand can come down unimpeded, and I can go grab the Ensnaring Bridge. So that's kind of, it's a weird attack where like I want this construct to hit. It's stacking 7 lifelink. It's obviously amazing if it does connect, but it's also not the end of the world if they discard their hand and then pump the Murktide. The true like fail state of this is if they've got 3 instants in hand, 3 instants or sorceries, they can discard 2 of them and then hold on to a counterspell and then counter the card. But I'm kind of banking that they need to discard, like they might have land instant, in which case they'd still want to make this play, eat the construct, make a massive board, and then the 1 card in hand isn't relevant because it's hopefully just a land or maybe not a frog. So they do make the play, they make the Murktide huge, and they eat the construct, which lets me, I chump on, they attack with their board, I chump with the remaining construct because I know that I'm dead if I don't put down the Khan plus the Ensnaring Bridge. Luckily, I draw the land I need for turn, and I'm able to go Khan plus Bridge. And I think actually I had a spare Opal. So I had Opal land, but I needed to allow me to have enough mana for the bridge. They untap, they look at their giant blue creatures, unable to attack. I Khan for a Metamorph of another bridge, and they need to have double sync into Stupa on a single turn cycle to be able to attack again, and that pretty much seals the deal. So we go to game 3. I go turn 1 Cage, with them on the play, of course. They go turn 1 Blitzscour into a 4/4 Murktide. Not the biggest Murktide, but still 4/4 flying on turn 2 is pretty impressive. And my Cage looks pretty silly in the face of this because they're not going to be focused on Oculus this game. They're not going to be unearthing, so this is kind of just a dead card. The good news is that this actually allows me to get Metalcraft. So what I do on my second turn of the game, I go Eldrazi Temple, play Flesh Raker, play a Mox Opal, trigger, make a spawn, float with the Opal, play another one, make another spawn, and then I'm able to play a Khan. It's a very explosive turn 2, casting 1, 2, 3, 4 spells minimum. Fortunately, they have this force to answer the Khan, so you think about it, like my hand's extremely good, but they've also had turn 2 Murktide, turn 3, and then turn 2 Force as well. So their hand's definitely above average by all means. Not the end of the world because we still have our Flesh Raker, still have the Graph Diggers for some value, and I think I've got a couple of cards in hand at this point, but we are under pump from this Murktide. So kind of nothing happens for a few turns. I've added life totals into this picture just to show the race that we've kind of been presented. They're at 7, but I've got no power right now. I've drawn a Murktide per turn. I've drawn a Saga per turn, facing down the Murktide, and kind of nothing else has happened. I guess I've copped 2 hits from this Murktide at this point, so I'm at 12. They've just untapped and they've surveilled an Otawara to the bin, which makes sense in retrospect because this last card in hand for them is a Fatal Push. So they're thinking, I don't really need this Otawara, I just want to find a frog or another Murktide or an Oculus and then pump up the Murktide some more and kill in 2 hits. And they've got the push to cover the construct anyway. So they're not too worried about the construct hitting for the 7 damage that it would take to finish them off. I am very blessed at this point when I draw a Chalice, played on 1, and that, without knowing everything, in retrospect, it's obvious, but at the time, I'm thinking I hope that they draw a push and the Murktide, the construct is able to just go coast to coast and one shot from them because they're at 7 at this point. And that's exactly what it does. They show that their card is, or their hand is pushed land, and they show the top card of their library. The next one is a Murktide, which would have made the current Murktide lethal. So yeah, we squeezed that one out. Really fortunate, super close game. Super close match, honestly. Every game of that match was just super exciting, super close, super intricate, and yeah, I think I navigated it very well. If you want to go back and watch one match, I'd recommend this one. This one was a stellar match. But that's we kind of shake that one off. We got through it, thank goodness, and now we're in semis. So there on the play again. I'm 6th seed, so I'm going to be on the draw pretty much the whole way through. I start off with a turn 1 Colourless command. Don't get to say that often, but I've got the Gemstone Cavern to help ramp me up that first turn. I devour this game, but unfortunately I hit Khan Colourless command. The card I kept was the Ugin's Lab, but I just needed mana, so all these premium spells I just can't keep. So I've really watered down my deck against the Breach deck, where Khan is your best card, and I've already lost half the Khans in my deck because of the Devour of Destiny. Not too bad here, because my start is so powerful that I should be okay despite that. That said, my next couple turns, my second turn I play a Mystic Forge, and my third turn I hold up a Colourless command. My opponent's second turn they play an Emery or a Grinding Station and an Emery, and then they're able to set up for what looks like a turn 4 kill, maybe turn 5 in the half. I'm left with a weird choice on this turn where I've already used my Mystic Forge, so my top card's a Flesh Raker. It's not going to affect the board, so I don't play it. I'm just going to try and hold up Colourless command to try and interact. It was a really weird spot. Colourless command's already got too many modes on it. But when you're playing against Breach and they're all relevant, it's super tricky to know when to snap it off. I went for it here, so they've got a Bauble on the stack from a Breach, so they've escaped the Bauble. I've said, well, you're going to sack the Bauble to the Grinding Station, so there's not any point in me letting this go any further. I'm just going to kill the Emery and take out the graveyard. And there's also a Jace Builder of Mysteries here, so getting rid of that's pretty nice. I know they've got a Grape Shot in the list, so maybe this makes it trickier for them to squeeze out a win. But they have another Emery, and they're able to combo off with Grape Shot anyway. Which brings us to game 2. So as much as I tout the Breach matchup being good, we've lost game 1, and now they've brought in 4 Consigns and some Nature's Claims, so we're kind of up against it. So the way game 2 progresses, we start with, I just play a Fountain Port, they go turn 1, Soporific Spring, Bauble, Emery, so really nice start from them to start off. My turn 2, I play a Flesh Raker and a Bauble, so not a bad progression from there. And they play a Grinding Station and kind of set up for maybe a turn 3 kill with some luck, but might look innocuous on this board, but this was actually a turn 3 kill. It was play Flesh Raker, trigger it, play Mindstone, double trigger, play Colourless command, trigger, make 2 more spawns, trigger, and then scry into any spell for lethal. Yeah, the deck just, once you get double Flesh Raker going, plus something to ramp you with the Mindstone and then a Colourless command, it's just a crazy amount of damage. This was a turn 3, kill you from 20 life points down to 0. We come to game 3. They've got a bit of a slower start. They've got a turn 2 Emery. I've got a Colourless command on turn 2, so they're kind of just holding up permission. I go for end of turn Kozak's command for 2, making spawn and scrying drawing. They spell pierce it, and I'm kind of okay with that. It's like spell pierce is pretty good when I've only got 2 lands, and I only didn't have any more lands in hand, so getting through a spell pierce seemed decent. We kind of stay in the same holding pattern where I'm gonna Kozak's command on end step again to try and bait a consign, and then untap and play a Khan or a Thought Knot. So they have played a Tamio on their turn, or their prior turn, and now they're going to combat. So I go, let's exile the Tamio and draw, to which they say consign, and that gives me the window that they've used both of their best permission spells, and I'm able to slam a Khan and go grab a Tormod script. They kind of fumble around, they haven't really got much going on at this point, so I'm able to end of their turn again, go Kozak's command for 3, make some spawns, and draw some cards. Then I untap and double Thought Knot Seer, take 1 breach, take another breach, and their hand is at this point like a Jace, double Nature's Claim, which doesn't really matter because I can just crypt in response, and then we wrap it up with an Emrakul to finish it all off. So with that, we reach the finals. So Nick, my opponent on Hollowed 1, he has turn 1 Mako. I take my first draw step, and it's a Chalice of the Void, by far the best card in the matchup. So very lucky again to rip this one. I had the turn 1 Everflowing Chalice, Mox Opal, Darksteel Citadel, and I was going to play a Mind Stone and a Shadow Spear, but this is the best card in the matchup. We're just going to slam it and let the Shadow Spear lose out on some value, but yeah, just kind of hold them down and prevent them from doing much. Let's get this down. The game progresses a little bit of a couple turns where not a lot happens because they're stuck under the Chalice. I just have an awkward no play, just cycle a Mind Stone, and I get to get down a Fleshraker and double cycle, or kind of make 2 spawns off of my 2 1-drops. Of course, the turn that I played the Chalice on 1, I drew the other 1-drop in the deck, the Soul Knight Lantern, but that's what happens sometimes when you play Chalice in your deck. So they've got a bit of power in play. I've got my Fleshraker. Later on, the next turn I was able to get a Chalice on 2 down to really lock them out of any spells except for Detective's Phoenix or Hollow Ones. And then I take a bit more damage again, copy another 6, but I'm able to stabilize after that with another timely draw, being the Devourer of Destiny, to take out the Mako. Devourer covers the Hollow One pretty well. So we're kind of in a bit of a scrappy combat game at this point, where they're just trying to put together some Hollow Ones, and I'm trying to find some gas or some kind of like Kozak's command or Khan to really seal the deal, but I'm kind of just floundering a little bit. Devourer really kind of was the key draw of this game, where I could take out one of their threats and then 6/6 locks down the Hollow Ones. But again, we're stressed about the possibility of a Detective's Phoenix jumping one of these and then killing in 2 hits. Fortunately, they were unable to find one in the top 20 or so cards. So we get ahead with the Fleshraker, the Devourer, and then we wrap it up with a tap all my mana and cast a big Kozak's command for lethal burn via the Fleshraker. Game 2 happens. They start off with a Mako and then a Fear of Missing Out. I just remember the Mako. I guess the key thing that happens this game is that they've got a Goblin Lore, and of these 7 cards in hand, pretty much everything that got discarded was not lands, and everything that was kept in hand was lands. So unfortunate for Nick. He played really well the whole match, but he just kind of flattened out this game. So he is able to get a Detective's Phoenix onto a FOMO, but I can Kozak's command to kill the FOMO during combat, and then I'm able to get a Khan plus a Shadow Spear going. I get my Khan, so Construct plus a Shadow Spear, and then Khan for a Tormod script to make the block awkward, because I can just pop the crypt to shrink the Another Goyf. The construct's heading for 6 life, I think. We've got built our own worm coil at this point. And that's enough to pump the handshake. And with that, I am the victor of the ANZ Magic Super Series. Here's the full bracket if you wanted to have a quick look. Went pretty well. Even if Zen won against Nick, I would have played against Breach in the finals, which is also a matchup I'm happy to take on. Another scary part of the matchup against Nick was that he beat my teammate Colin in the quarters. So I was thinking, since Nick's on the play and we're playing the same deck, maybe he's got the advantage. But kind of stuck to my guns and trusted myself. Didn't accept the prize split and just said, no, the deck's been good. We're gonna win this one, and we're able to take it out in 2. So after the game, we get on the interview. We see Lee, have a good time, take a few photos. Here's my beautiful little trophy. Here's me with another shot here. It's my favorite one, showing off the trophy, and a couple more shots here. This wasn't poorly screen capped. This is actually the shot we were trying to take. I'm 6'11" in real life, so there's always jokes that my head gets cut off. So we've done that intentionally. And then we wrap up the night with a bit of sightseeing around Sydney. I've lived in Australia my whole life, but I've never actually seen the Opera House or the Harbour Bridge. So yeah, a bit of sightseeing to round out an otherwise amazing weekend. And yeah, so that was the tournament. And I guess, yeah, what's next for me and the deck? Got a bit of traction out of it. So MTG Rocks is a pretty popular site that produces Magic articles. They picked up the deck very quickly and we're talking about it, so that was pretty cool. Mangucci jumped on the deck a few days later, got a trophy with it. I watched most of that stream and had a good chat with him, so that was pretty cool as well. It was on at the same time as RC Charlotte, so I feel sorry for the people at Charlotte who had to play against 30% Breach and didn't have access to my deck. I would have, if my deck was in the field and then every third deck was against Breach, then yeah, I think it would have been an interesting tournament. But RC Charlotte ends with like 6 Breach players in the top 8 or whatever, so unfortunate timing for them that they weren't able to get access to my deck, which was doing really well against the Breach matchup. Utrecht the next weekend, surprising drop. Breach comes down to 12%, so probably a bit grandiose of me to think that my deck alone is going to be influencing this percentage of Breach decks by that much. But it's interesting to see that the Breach percentage came down that significantly over the course of one weekend. So maybe it was becoming clear that there were good ways to attack the Breach deck. Not specifically just me, but there are decks out there that have good game against it. So good to see some kind of resurgence against the Breach deck. But a couple of weeks from now, I'm sure Betsy will do something about it. A few people at Utrecht have actually picked up the deck. Ben Seck, a well-known Australian Magic player, was playing the deck round 1. Lorenzo Conza was playing the deck undefeated at the end of day 1, and in a pretty good position there. So yeah, good to see the deck is kind of making waves internationally, and yeah, I'm glad I was able to kind of have my effect on the modern format, and yeah, bring a cool brew to a format and to a tournament, and actually kind of make something pretty meaningful out of it, and also get a PT invite and a Worlds invite. So yeah, that's kind of the recap. If you want to know more about the deck and more specific stuff about the strategy, the matchups, and like a sideboard guide, I am offering sideboard guides. Just hit me up on Discord. I'll put a link in the description of this video to my Discord. Just DM me there, and we can talk about sideboard guides and kind of deck gameplay. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoy the deck. Try and give it a whirl at some point if you can. It's a lot of fun. And I'll see you guys next time.